Wonderful. Thank you, everyone, for coming to this meeting today, and Cindy for organizing. I really appreciate the collaboration that we have with all of the research and extension partners in the UC cooperative system. Today, I'm going to start with giving you some updates and things that have happened with the Olive Center in the past year. And then I'll give you a quick summary, history and summary of what's going on in California. So let's get started. My name is Javier Fernandez-Salvador. I'm the executive director at the UC Davis Olive Center. My background is agronomy, and I also am a tree, fruit, and berry physiologist with more than 5 years of experience as an assistant professor in extension at Oregon State University, where I looked at olive tolerance to cold temperatures and winter damage, as that is not an area where olives are commonly grown, but where there's a lot of interest, especially from small farmers. Also, as part of the Olive Center team is Dr. Adelia Amico-Roxas. She is the associate director at the center, and she is also a tree fruit physiologist, and she's in charge of all of our programming, as well as multiple aspects of production and industry collaborations. The UC Davis Olive Center, it's a self-supporting education and research coalition with both the table and olive oil industry that is building on California's crop of the future. I think the most important part here is self-supporting, because we depend on industry collaborations and cooperation with researchers, as well as the public in general, to continue our mission. And yes, we focus on both areas, both table and oil. And the important thing is that we believe that California is one of the most that olives are one of the most sustainable crops for the future of California, not only because of things, as Julia has mentioned and other researchers before, such as the lesser amount of water and fertilizer that the crop requires, but also at other aspects such as long-term carbon sequestration and other aspects of sustainability that we actually look at as part of our mission in the center. So how do we reach the goals that we have in these main areas? First thing is we provide a table and olive oil educational opportunities for growers, millers, industry members, and the public in general. And I'm going to discuss this part next. Oh, sorry. We have multiple classes, including, in this case, sensory analysis and growing olives for oil production. A lot of our programming has focused in the past in oil more than anything, but in the future, we're also looking at doing education and classes that have to do with table olives. We also work with multiple chefs around the country to develop classes for educating the public on all the great aspects of both table and olive oil, as well as our world famous master milling course. And nowadays, we also have multiple offerings of classes in Spanish and different workshops. We also have we produce the olive oil for UC Davis. So we have multiple outreach events for the public in general, including the festival for the release of our Olio Nuevo and multiple other oils grown on campus. And I'll talk about those in a little bit. But I also wanted to mention that we have our calendar of events for the year, and we're still working on multiple aspects of the class. And you will see a lot of the presenters that you have seen today collaborating on our different classes. But we have, for example, a workshop on how to use table olives in your backyard. That's something that we've been getting a lot of inquiries on, how to use those for curing them. So that's a small workshop that we're doing. We have our advanced sensory evaluation of olive oils that is coming in June. The registration is open for that one, and we expect that the class will fill out very quick because there's quite a bit of interest, and we have international presenters coming for that class. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I'm going to run out of battery. So I had to run and connect my charger. Just a second. Oh, I don't want to get disconnected. Just a second, please. Okay. And then we also have our, again, famous now class for starting a culture on the benefits and good things that the olive oil can provide. And we started with teenagers. I think that and educating our youth on the benefits of olive oil, and in the future, again, we're working with table olives as well. It's a very important part of our mission. We also have our growing class that we have put now in a different schedule to cover the different aspects of it. This year, we will be focusing on growing under organic management for oil production. So that's one of the classes that we have happening here in July. And then we have our introduction to milling olives for oil class. That one we will focus, it's going to be an intensive 2-day class that will focus on an introductory level of what you need to do to mill your olives for oil. And then we're also working on the modern acreage production for table olive class with the support of Musco Family Company. And again, you will see multiple of our presenters today going into depth on these classes that we're still on the planning and working and development stages. This is one of the classes that we had this year that I mentioned before. Just the last pitch on that one, we are working on developing 2 or 3 different more classes, workshops in Spanish that will, that's a part of the community that has been underserved, mostly for farm workers, and we consider that's very important to reach out to them and provide this education on their native language. And then, of course, the advanced sensory that I mentioned before, registration is open. Please register soon before it sells out. So the next aspect that important part of the mission of the Olive Center is training and educating our students, growers, and producers, and providing support for conducting research in different areas. So for this, I'm going to give you a preview of something that we're working on. This is a new program that we're calling the OLEA Learn Student Apprenticeship and Professional Training. That comes with the support of the Cortopassi Family Foundation, Corto Olive Oil. And now we are adding multiple supporters from the industry as well, in this case, Cobram State. And we are at the fundraising stage of the process. We've been reaching out to many companies involved in the industry, and they are also lining up to support this program. The goal is to train and produce well-mentored pool of students that will be available to the industry and the olive workforce when they complete their training. As you can see there on the picture on the left, that's the current students that work for us, and they receive everything from sensory training, agronomic training, milling training, and on the different aspects of olive oil at this point. The idea is to expand this in the future also to table olives, but we're starting with olive oil. And we will be hiring the students and starting the selection process this summer. And it is a very interesting program that is getting a lot of support from industry, especially because there is no specific program that focuses on developing the skills for students at that stage. So I'm giving you a preview of these and more details to come. But an important thing is that we're launching it this year. Reach out to the center, please, for more information on the apprenticeship opportunities, and also for a way to collaborate. An important part of this is that we are working with not only our fabulous faculty that works with olives in the state, but also with industry and doing industry visits, industry tours, and presenting problems to the students so that they can develop their skills on responding to the different questions that the industry has. So it's a very important program that we think is going to be a great success, and we hope to hear from you about that. And finally, of course, the Olive Center is in charge of producing and marketing the UC Davis brand through our campus-grown olive oil. which includes managing the research orchards at the historic Wolfskill Ranch, and milling and bottling our oil in collaboration with industry. This is a very interesting opportunity because the plots that we have as part of the Olive Center at Wolfskill have been set up with very well laid out experimental designs so that they can be used for different activities. And in one of the orchards, for example, we collaborate with Dr. Marino on cultivar evaluation. The idea is to also look at these different orchards for in the future, maybe at pruning or nutrient management projects that could be of that could have great results for the industry to answer some of the questions that you have. And from these orchards, we produce an extensive line that we now expanded of oils that are grown and then milled at collaborator sites. But the most important part is that we have our students train on site. And then they don't only train on agronomic management of the crop, but also the different aspects of coordinating logistics with our collaborators and starting but on a very much applied way and a professional practical training with the industry before they even graduate. That's one of the things that we're very proud of. And of course, whatever we can produce in that orchard helps us with the operations of and support of the center. You can find our oils online at the UC Davis store. And also reach out to us if you're thinking of any type of collaboration or interest that you have in the different programming that we have. Here's our contact information. You can find out, sign up for our newsletter. And of course, we have the different social media for those projects. And this is a small list of all of the different collaborators that we have and that we are very proud to serve. And we hope to continue to expand these lists with your support. So I'm going to give you a quick, I don't want to take too much of the time today. I think, I hope that not a lot of the things that I'm presenting today will be repetitive. I'm very thankful that Elizabeth Fitchner was able to present some statistics on the table olive industry, because today I will be focusing a little bit more on the oil part. So thank you, Elizabeth, for that. And we hope to answer any of the questions that you might have about this. So I'll start with a little history and how olives were introduced to California. They came via Baja California from Spain. Of course, the Spanish started planting olives in the Caribbean and, of course, in Mexico, with not such as an important success as they would have in climates that are more truly Mediterranean, such as California. But the important thing is that they were both introduced into the state via seeds or cuttings, and then grown and expanded through the region. So here, for example, we have a centennial trees that you can see here, and in the background, the California Mission. And there is still a lot of centennial trees that you can go and visit in the different network of missions that are that still are working as museums or in the state of California. And then important thing, mission, which we call is the name that we've given to our California cultivar because of that history of the different Franciscan missions that introduced olives to the state. And it's become a very well adapted selection to the state that is now also considered our native variety, although as we know, it is not native because it's introduced from the Mediterranean. It's very bitter when green, buttery and soft when harvested later for oil. And then it can have a high oil content, but it has some issues with susceptibility to disease. I also wanted to show you this, in the majority of these network of missions that we have across the state, you can find olives. So that's how they all arrived and came to the state. And here is an example of the first press of olives in San Diego. And this is actually, when you see the term in a bottle that says cold pressed, we can kind of moved away from actually pressing. We use modern milling techniques for the extraction of oil nowadays. but there are still these historical artifacts that you can find at locations where the different paste was put in between sheets of fiber and then pressed until the oil came out, where that mixture of oil and water was then later racked. And the oil produced at that stage was mostly used as a fuel here in California. But by 1871, there was the first commercial mill available at Rancho Camulos in Ventura County, which is still up and you can visit as well. And by 1885, the state had around 2,000 acres of olives dedicated for oil production. Then came the rise of the table olive industry, when in the early parts of the 20th century, imported olive oil and seed oils started to take over the market that California oil had. And most of the 20th century had California making oil from table varieties and limited production. But then the California black rye process became a very important thing of our industry, and canning technology contributed to the growth of a strong table olive industry. On the left, you can see the picture of Freda Edmond, the creator of the black rye process. And here I wanted to show you the different regions. It's an important picture here because you can see that olives are grown right from the border with Mexico and Mexicali all the way up to the beginning of the Cascade Range, right? So we have multiple regions that give us an advantage of different climates and being able to grow different varieties that produce very different and very high quality oils. That's a very important part. And then, of course, late in the 19th century, small orchards planted with European varieties. The original varieties that were brought here were Spanish. And then the later European varieties along the coast gave a lot of diversity to the state olive growing. So we start to see the new California olive growth, where new olive trees were imported starting in the 1990s. Older orchards were recovered. Look at those big trunks that you can still see in some of the orchards here in California. Of these varieties that were introduced were mostly Italian cultivars. And then in 98, we had the equivalent of our Paris judging competition for wine, which was the Davvero, when Davvero was selected as the top Tuscan oil at the Gambero Rosso tasting in Italy. So it's very important and kind of a pivotal moment for high quality oils in California. And then, of course, at the late part of the 90s, you saw the growth of the super high density systems, which are intended to be fully mechanized and account for the majority of the production in the state. And we also now have this picture here that you see right here is from what we call medium density system. Some people call it high density, but not super high density system. That allows for larger tree development and more different alternatives for canopy management. But it requires a specific machine. In this case, it's called a colossus because it's a really gigantic and colossal that you use for harvesting these other trees. The advantage of this system is that it's not limited to in the majority of the olives grown in the state for oil are Arbequina. And there's some Koroniki and some Arbosana. But in this case, you can grow up to 10 different varieties that have been evaluated for this system, giving you more diversity in the quality of the oil that you would be obtaining. So if we look at production, it has gone up. And then you, of course, see sometimes the seasonality that we have discussed. I'm sorry, not seasonality, the alternance that we have discussed before, when you have an on year and an off year. But the late statistics that I have received from the OOCC, the Commission of the Olive Oil Commission of California, indicated that in year 2021, we were around 3 million gallons of oil produced in the state. Now we're still waiting for the results for 2022, and this is the stuff for 2021, and we will share that hopefully in our upcoming classes in the summer. And then this is also an important graph that you see here, as the olive oil consumption has continued to increase in the United States. And very interestingly, it peaked quite a bit during the pandemic. So people were seeing the different health benefits, not only the sustainability, but also health benefits that olive oils have when consumed in your diet. At the same time, the imports from all around the world also grew with that growth in the market. And to give you a quick summary of the California production in 2021, the production again was around 3.1 million gallons, with about 10 to 15 producers that make more than 5,000 gallons a year, and hence provide the statistics that the commission uses for developing their information. And then in 2005, we had around 6,000 bearing acres of olives for olive oil, but in 2021, we were around 21 or 22,000 acres of oil production. And an important thing also for you to know is that California oil production accounts only for about 1.2 to 1.5, and this is stats from 2018 to 2019. It is estimated from some discussions that I've had with industry that right now we are around 2 to 2.5%. So very still small portion of what is consumed in the US, it's grown in California. And then we are expecting, I want to give you a little bit of an idea of the trends that we see in the industry, continue to see acreage growth because of the higher value that we have with the California grown product. And of course, the consumers having preferences of US grown olive oil. We produce great oils in California, and that shows on the preferences from the consumers. The California industry continues to focus on quality. Of course, here, very seldom we see late harvests that focus on higher yields, although they do happen, but the majority are harvests that start as early as late September in some regions to and finish before sometimes the first days in December. So it's an earlier harvests than around the rest of the world, and then production focusing on quality. There's a big push for greater coordination among industry organizations so that there continues to be growth for the industry. And then we look at increasing the promotion of sustainability and health and the health benefits of olive oil. As I mentioned before, important things that could be seen in regarding carbon sequestration, low water and fertilizer needs of the trees, that in a state such as ours, where, and not for this year because of the amount of rain that we've got, but where we can have severe droughts, olives are a great alternative. And then, of course, we are expected to see an increase in consumption within the US as they learn about the value of the health benefits of olive oil. With that, I hope I'm on time, Cindy, and I thank you for your attention, and thanks for inviting the Olive Center to participate in this. We look forward to seeing you in class, and thank you, Cindy.
Yes, thank you, Javier. You do have we have a few minutes left over, and you do have a couple questions. Is there an age limit for the olive courses? I'm a PCA and I'm interested well past student age.
For the olive courses, absolutely not. They're open to the public, with the exception of the youth and college student class, that when we try to focus on the kids and students between the ages of 12 to 19. But that's the only culinary offering. For all of the other classes, there's no age limit. Anyone can sign up. You don't have to have a lot of previous education for it, and we're welcoming you if you're interested.
Okay, and not a question, but thank you for offering classes in Spanish. A team member went to the class earlier this month and really enjoyed it. Can't wait to see what else he can come to in the future. So that was a comment for you.
Wonderful, thank you. Really appreciate that. And yes, we will continue to offer more and more classes in Spanish. We are very glad to have formed a team, a multi-country team with researchers from Spain, from the Marino Lab, and then from industry collaborators from Argentina, as well as myself. So yes, we will continue with those offerings in Spanish. Thank you.
Where do you see acreage growth, in the larger producer or more smaller growers?
The majority of the growth is still focused on the larger producers. So expansion for some of the different systems, either super high density or high density, or what we also call medium density, requires at least sometimes a minimum of 50 to 80 acres to be profitable. And in the case of larger companies, they go with even larger acreage than that. So that's where we see the majority of the acreage growth. Although there is quite a bit of expansion with small growers, but that doesn't directly affect the acreage. It affects more directly the amount of high quality oils that you see of small batches that are available in the market.